Hey everyone, thank you for joining us for this Reef and Relight live AMA hosted here on Riverside. My name is Derek Silva. I'm a community manager with Reef Finance, and we have George Groshkov, CEO, founder, I believe, of Relight Finance.
That's correct.
And George, thanks so much for joining us here today and making some time for the Reef and Relight communities.
Thank you so much for inviting me and looking forward, Derek. Great to have you.
Good. I would be remiss, given that we're live, 9:05 a.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, July 28th, if I didn't mention the fact that the Reef mainnet has just launched. This is really exciting because it means that Relight can also, as soon as you guys are ready, launch on the Reef chain mainnet, not the Canary. We just did an announcement with Clever, who has 3 million users who hopefully will all get a chance to try out Relight Finance in the very near future as well through their multi-blockchain wallet app on iOS and Android with a built-in browser, which is really handy. And yeah, we're bringing this ecosystem to bear. It's finally happening, so that's really exciting. And
Congratulations.
thank you, and
Congratulations, Derek.
terrific time. I've done nothing. I'm literally just the person telling people that this is happening. But I will pass on your congratulations to the people really putting in the effort here. Thanks to Halborn for the mainnet audit, and thanks to everybody like yourselves at Relight and everybody else for believing in Reef Chain and helping us all get to the mainnet today. Um, Terrific. So, as everybody knows, probably if you're here, we took a bunch of questions via Twitter. We have this Gleam campaign going, and so now that we've mentioned the mainnet launch, we want to get right into it with you, George, so you can tell everybody about Relight Finance. And I think actually we should start there. For anybody who maybe missed the announcement, or especially for the Reef community, can you tell us just a little bit more about Relight Finance, what it is, what your goals are?
Absolutely. So Relight essentially is a cross-chain lending protocol. We enable users to lend and borrow different assets. It's assets which natively don't are sitting on different chains. So what we want
Hmm.
to bring really in Relight is this connectivity between liquidity. So if some assets sit on the Reef chain or assets sit on Ethereum, they should be paired, and then essentially on top of it, they should be built lending products. So in Relight, basically the ultimate goal is that you can really come and let's say collateralize your Ethereum, you take BNB, then you collateralize your BNB, you take Polkadot, and then you collateralize your dot position and you take Rift token, for instance. So those kind of things are done through interoperability and bridges, and we want to really bring that future to a really existence and have people a kind of a next level usability in that sense.
Terrific. And you mentioned BNB, you mentioned DOT tokens. What about NFTs? This seems to be the new hotness. There are some platforms out there who want to let you um, borrow against your NFTs. I mean, if I've got a crypto punk, I could probably borrow a couple $1 million. I don't. I wish. That's something I should have done early on. But
Maybe
what
you
about
can create
NFTs?
your
Is
own.
there
Maybe you can create your
maybe
own crypto Derek, punk Derek.
Crypto Derek with different smiles and facial expressions and hats? Yeah,
Yes.
maybe I'll see. I'll consider hiring a an artist to help me out with that. But what about NFTs and on this really bleeding edge side of things? Is that something that could also potentially be enabled?
It's a very interesting market. First of all, in general, I think it's quite nice that it finally picked up because the NFT essentially was out there for
Hmm.
years.
Yeah.
I think partially because artists, real quality artists came on board and they got the good marketing, but also partially because the market is ready for this kind of stuff. So you can consider NFTs for a lot of things like mortgages, all kinds of art, contracts,
Yeah.
tickets. But in Relight, essentially, we want to bring NFTs in the light of collateral, as you said. That means two things: that we will be able to give a quote for a particular NFT based on a historical value of the how the NFT was traded and what price, and then
Okay.
B matching it with other other NFTs using machine learning algorithms. So we can create
Mm.
like our sort of a layer in which we can evaluate what is the price of the NFT. So when we have a price of the NFT, then it has to match with the collateral that the user wants to take. And then if that's a match, then we can be sure that the NFT has enough or has there's enough liquidity and they will be executed if it needs to be liquidated. So in sense, I think when the market is really ready for like there is already a marketplace for NFTs, right? And there's liquidity, but there's a real need for the part where the oracles and the other analytics come into play, where you can get like uh, right key metrics to enable you the right collateral. But that's on the works, and we are really exploring it. Also, soon maybe partnering with a company dealing just that with that, and we're looking forward. Really, really exciting that. And we do have also Relight NFTs as well, created part of our community competitions.
Nice, good stuff. Oh, it looks like I preempted someone's question about NFTs, so I guess we're great minds think alike then.
Yeah.
Another question. Well, so a question that came in through Twitter. Going to those now. One from Fen Min Look One. According to your roadmap, based on the Relight Finance roadmap, what are your most important next priorities? What are you guys working on right now?
Heavy development. So we said we increased, as I said in previous AMAs, we increased the development team. We hired product manager, product guys, more and more QA, DevOps guys. So this is very important for us. So the first priority is definitely the farming phase of the LP tokens.
Hmm.
So LP tokens can be Relight LP tokens, both for PancakeSwap and Uniswap can be staked in Relight. That's the basis. And then we will open up stable pools for farming, which will essentially be used then afterwards for the initial liquidity for the lending or for the MVP. So yeah, the first at the moment, these are the priorities, and afterwards, of course, in Q4, we'll have the MVP already running and enable basic users to have the full potential of the lending.
Okay, Q4. Yeah, Q4 starts for anybody uninitiated. Q4 would start October. So we're still a little ways out for that MVP, but these things take time, and I think a lot of people don't realize that just how much effort and time is required to bootstrap, an entirely new DApp and a new set of smart contracts and LP tokens and
Absolutely.
that sort of thing.
There's a
It's
lot of
it's
organizational work in behind it. There's a lot of manpower behind it. There's a lot of know-how exchange. All the
yeah.
time, people need to be in sync. So development takes the works. And as we say, like usually when a developer tells you something, then multiply it by 3 and add 15%. And then you will know when you know.
Soon trademark.
So
No, I just think it's really important to highlight. A lot of people. It's really easy to fork Uniswap's smart contracts and the app interface and build and do another thing, but the implementation of that and actually making sure that that's all secure, especially on a completely different blockchain or potentially a new blockchain, is still quite involved, and it's not as simple as just forking code and deploying it to another blockchain, as we have seen, in the not so recent past with uh, uh, performance issues and other things that I won't name names, but that other developers have run into forking Uniswap specifically, forking their code and just deploying it to another blockchain. It's not a simple 5-minute job. Not if you want to build something novel, new, different, unique, and on a fairly new
yeah, you
blockchain.
can always use the old smart contracts, but they anyway will be written in different, let's say, Solidity language or whatever, and it's
Yeah,
always been a pain to work with legacy contracts and legacy code. So
for sure. I'm going to reword this question. Sorry, Rati Vatana. I know you provided a question, and I think it's good to highlight, but in a slightly different way. So, George, I'm going to put it this way. Do you feel like the prices of other tokens, even major ones like Bitcoin and Ethereum, do they affect your roadmap and your plans for the future? Um, regardless of whether the prices are going up or down.
No, no. I
I
mean,
mean, that's go
I
ahead,
mean,
go ahead.
it's the question has of course a short answer and maybe a longer one.
Sure.
But the price at the moment is not something we look forward to focus on because it's just not very healthy as well for the team to watch every time. No. I mean, it's important in the sense of community kind of thing, but I think it's just going. It's a matter of time to pick up, and if the market is experiencing some bearish pattern, that's actually healthy because it was already very overheated, right?
Hmm.
And when that ends, then it starts a new cycle, which always proves to be better and always seems to be that it just creates a stronger community and a stronger products
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm very confident in that, in those cycles of the rhythm of the development of the, and that means that there's also the cycles of prices are also going up and up. So yeah,
Yeah. No, I
we
agree.
we, we
There's
we develop as we can, of course, the speed we can, but
yeah.
prices.
Yeah, I think it's actually kind of funny when people are like, "Oh, they're just timing everything so that it's like, to match with a day that prices are going up and that sort of thing." And I'm like, man, if only any team had the foresight to be able to do that.
Yeah,
Sure, maybe, but we don't. And realistically,
yeah,
almost every team, certainly I've spoken with, they want to launch as soon as it's ready. They don't want to launch on a good day, on a bad day. When code is ready to go, it goes.
and
So
market is very often not aligned with your, how to say, dates again. Like
yeah,
it's, if you wait for the perfect day in the market, as you say, you might want to wait forever, and you
and
want
then you
to, yeah,
never launch.
whenever you launch, yeah, right. So
Yeah, good stuff. I'm glad we got that question out of the way. Rati Vatana, yeah, Rati Vatana, thanks for asking. Sorry I reworded it, but I wanted to do that. So let's move on to, I guess, the Relight token and your aspirations for making it widely available. We know exchanges are important for doing that, whether they are decentralized or centralized. You probably can't be too specific about any aspirations or any discussions going on, but what are your hopes there in terms of getting Relight token out to as many people as possible?
that's very important indeed, and we've been in discussions with several exchanges, including tier one, tier two exchanges. Recently, we got like more and more requests because we just wanted to keep. We are still building things, and I think we got also more mature. We got more noticed by the community as well, and we slowly
Hmm.
people understood that we are here to stay. And then this actually sparked a lot of those kind of conversations with exchanges. I think at the moment, still as well as still more important is to the product than the listing part. But listing part will come eventually anyway. Like this is so. We are currently listed on Uniswap and PancakeSwap, so people actually have access to the token. And I
Cool.
think some point we need to maybe work with, of course, tier one to tier two. The first one will be probably tier two, and then we'll move to the next one.
Okay, I think that's fair, and hopefully answers that question for Reza
Yeah,
2020.
but we are in discussions. They know us. We know them. We we're in the works for that.
I like that. They know us, we know them. That's cute. Um, we announced this collaboration between Reef Finance and Relight a little while ago. Um, I guess I'll put it this way. Lily7447 wanted to know about major milestones. We kind of already talked about that. I'll put it this way and said, what are you most looking forward to when it comes to deploying Relight on Reef? Is it the enabling of those bridges? Is that the major highlight for you, or is there something else that you're also looking forward to there?
Important question, because we announced only the initial partnership with Reef, and then in the same time we kind of only outlined the aspects of it. So since Relight is going to be multi-chain protocol, and we want to work with as much as possible chains out there, we will work with bridges and it means that there will be also a bridge built between Reef and let's say Polkadot, which is going to be essentially at the end of the day the major one.
Mhm.
The important aspect of our partnership is that, again, with this we will enable more liquidity connection between stakeholders of Reef and stakeholders of Relight, and people who use both tokens. And we're also going to have dedicated pool of Reef at Relight. So that means that people can really enable Reef token to be served as a collateral when taking a loan, or enable different collateral and take Reef token as in the wallet. And then further down the line, we discussed also some partnerships in regards to decentralized exchanges, and that partners around the ecosystem of Reefs are also interesting, especially the decentralized exchanges where Relight token can be also listed, and then we can create like an additional market for the token to exist in a very neat way without any third parties. I like that also transparency there is quite clear. You have a solid roadmap development wise, and you have good coders. So that's all those kind of things really brought us to the attention, and we look forward to develop more things together. Yeah, there's actually also a lot of know-how and exchange in the same time, right? So
Yeah.
since you are also building interoperable solutions, we are also building interoperable solutions, and there's always been very good exchange of knowledge between us.
Yeah, and I think the more high quality options people have, we launched one today that's within a very specific, iOS or Android app. That's great for those people who want to use that, but for people
Mm-hmm.
who want to use a desktop or laptop instead,
Mm-hmm.
and possibly a different wallet application, obviously giving them more options, via Relight or elsewhere, I think is really really important. People should have, at least to a certain extent, as much choice as possible. And so, Relight bringing additional liquidity bridges between different blockchains to Reef Chain, personally, I'm really looking forward to, because I do most of my blockchain work on my laptop. I don't do a lot of it on my mobile device. If I do, it's because I'm out and about, and for some reason it needs to happen right this second. Whether there's like an NFT I just saw that I really really want to buy, or or a trade, that like I need to get some tokens of some kind right away, and so I'll pop up, MetaMask, for example, on my iPhone. That's not typically my mo, my modus operandi. I usually use a desktop or laptop mostly, and so having that option via Relight, for me especially, I think will be really really handy.
Of course, the mobile aspect is very important with us because it's most of we know that this is mostly the mostly used device as well, also in Southeast Asia and most of Asia.
Yeah,
It's actually the only
South
device
America.
that many people have, so it has to be very natively and mobile friendly. It has to give that feeling of well, for instance, if we take on this idea on mobile, we really want to enable, for instance, things like biometric login, connectivity with your wallets via biometrics.
Hmm.
And then further on the line, again with the mobile, you can do one-click lending, one-click borrowing. So this kind of vision is really for us very important, because I think this is how mobile will work in the future, and it's already working, and there's already technology built on. So we just need to connect the parts, and you will feel the app or Relight. You'll feel Relight as an entity that it's going to be so user friendly as a centralized solution, but it's actually a decentralized solution. That's the
Hmm.
that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big dreams is like can we make this feel more like Twitter or Facebook or
Yeah, yeah,
like Rarible, for example, looks amazing, but it's still
yeah.
3, 4 clicks and multiple
It's true.
transactions before you can get going. So yeah, I think that's one of the few things that are holding people back is obviously some sort of basic knowledge about how a blockchain works.
Hmm.
Um, but at the same time, I don't think that's the major hindrance. The major hindrance is how many times do I have to do this? How do I set up a wallet? Getting over those hurdles is really the big one. And
True.
so,
And this is where the new
the
users are, right? So
yeah,
if you
yeah,
actually manage to communicate that effectively to these users that having hard time understanding what a wallet is,
hmm
then you enter a very interesting phase of new people who adopt to your solution and they start with your solution and they get very much loyal to you. I
yeah,
think this is well, we actually analyzing a lot of data outside just consumer technologies, and we see that still people having trouble making email accounts. So if that's a
really,
trouble making email accounts, then you should think about
yeah.
very
You're gonna have a
carefully
hell of a time making a
when you
wallet.
create a solution for lending that is connected to your MetaMask. So that means people are prone to have MetaMask, right? But
hmm
they need to use it and they need to have. And then the second question for us was always, well, while we're building the prototype, is where's the first click? So where will be the user going to move further? And then in the same time, when he clicks, where's the second click? So all those kind of things are very, very, very important.
So I'm just curious, are you hinting at potentially Relight native mobile apps, or are you just trying to really optimize that mobile experience as well so that South Americans, Southeast Asians, Africans, as you mentioned, people who have a mobile device as their only device often, or at the very least their primary device, so that they can get really easy access. Are you hinting at mobile apps, or are you just trying to optimize that experience?
From the perspective of the user base, location wise, or perspective devices.
I
Does
mean,
it-
like it kind of sounded like you guys might be thinking about building like a Relight Finance mobile app. Is that the case, or are you just trying to really optimize that experience on mobile?
Per se, there will be a mobile app, but at the beginning there will be just very nice mobile experience, and essentially
Cool.
browser based.
Okay.
And afterwards,
Okay.
we will move to the next step where you can actually get the the mobile app, and it's connected to biometrics and all those kind of things.
Nice. Okay. Cool. Looking forward to seeing that. Um, just want to make sure I say this name right. Bibhudi12 on Twitter. It seems like a lot of projects from 2017 have failed to deliver on their promises. I know of a few. um, what is Relight doing to avoid the same fate, and how can we be confident that Relight won't disappear a year from now?
Building, building, building. We just want to. This is how I can answer this question. No, a lot of the people I think fail in 2017. First of all, they raised too much money, and then B, they didn't know what to do with that money.
Right.
And when you have that mix, they have end up with a very short runway. With Relight, we raised enough money just to have a long runway. But we know it exactly because we did our homework. We knew that the technology exists, that this could be built in this time frame. This is how it estimates. This is how much cash it needs. So all those kind of things
Mhm.
were prepared. When you're prepared, then you have like a much more clearer roadmap ahead of you, and this is how you can really make the work go smoother, and you then don't end up in situation that you, let's say, spend half a million for just marketing, and then realizing that you don't have yet the product, and then when you launch the product, then you need that half a million for the marketing, but it's already gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is something we tend to, and we actually have amazing guys in taking care of the marketing and the product roadmap. So in that regard, we have also experienced how to say make the work in a rhythm and agile way without risking too much, because I think the 2017 projects they risk too much and they put a lot of money in marketing that it didn't convert them to real users, that they didn't
Mhm.
convert them to really revenue for the companies. And
Right.
back again, most of those 2017 companies didn't have an idea how they will structure the business model. They didn't know.
That's true.
We
That's
have a
true.
very
I
clear
can
structure
attest
for
to
that.
that.
So we earn a cut
Yeah,
from the interest. That's yeah, that's it. Yeah.
yeah, I've seen that firsthand. There was a lot of 2017 and even to 2018, a lot of Silicon Valley style. We'll figure out how to monetize later, um, which I think in hindsight was probably not very a very good idea. Some of them are still around and are still trying to figure that out because they had enough runway to do that, or a lot of them have pivoted in some way. But yeah, I definitely saw that firsthand, and I think you provided a fair answer in terms of how you're treating the money you have on hand right now and allocating it. Sounds like you actually have a fairly decent plan in place, so that's good to hear. Um, Yeah. Cool Kandra wanted to know, uh, or wanted to say, one of the most important things in Relight Finance, I guess, in their opinion, is the reserve fund. Um, would you like to discuss what exactly the selling point is of this feature of the reserve fund? How does it work and relate to staking, lending, and borrowing?
Question a lot of people ask about us. First of all, that's a big part of the system to make better collateral terms for the users. And things are interconnected in a sort of way that when you have a lot of ready staked in the reserve fund, you may basically increase your capitalization of the assets you have in general in the protocol. When you have a higher capitalization of that fund, then we can be more confident to give better collateral to the users. What does it mean? It means that when they come, they can collateralize a position, and they get their loan to value will not be, let's say, 65 to 75%. It could be 85%. So they will get
Mm.
quite decent loan to value. That means also that the collateral is going to be lower for them. Because when in terms of market crash and downfall, we can always use parts of the reserve fund to mitigate the bad positions to some extent and not to force that high liquidation that happens always on every possible lending platform out there. People think that when there's a sharp drop, it's just because selling. But in reality, it's not the zone that we're selling. It's just liquidating a lot of margin positions with bad
Yeah.
collateral.
Yeah.
And that's cascades. And when you have that on top, another leverage on top, then you create like a nasty looking red candles. So this is where we want to protect with the reserve fund the users and at least have a bit of time for people to react, let's say close their positions or exit their positions. And the reserve fund and the other aspect of that is that with with partners we can also create like smart contracts in which we can also have let's say possibilities for guarantee price buybacks on Relight or any kinds of other aspects of it. But the reserve fund essentially is a kind of a safety mechanism and a mitigator at the same time. So it gives you safety to take like mitigate your collateral, but in the same time it gives you safety when things get really nasty in the market.
That's really interesting, and I'm glad to hear that's about what the intended purpose is. And I think a lot of people don't realize that a lot of that liquidations happen on centralized platforms, and then
Also true.
affect the rest of us, in a variety of ways. As you said, you see this big wick down, and there's really nothing you can do about it. And it might be because people were betting against the rise of a price. Um, and then obviously they're getting liquidated, sometimes to the tune of a couple $1 billion. Um, so yeah, that's an interesting point to make. Thanks, Cool Kendra, for that question. This one's gonna sound like a job interview, but I'm actually kind of interested in the response. Crypto Tamazan wants to know, talk about the. Oh, I'm not going to answer this question. Talk about a time when when they wanted to say you both did something. I'm not going to answer this question. Talk about the time you did something you had never done before. How did it get handled, and what was the outcome?
Question has a lot of answers.
Let's pick your most controversial one.
So to talk about times let's
Something
try.
you had to do something you'd never done before. How did you get it done, and what was the result? We often do things that we've never done before, and sometimes we fail. But whichever scenario you want to get into.
Um, I actually, I think I remember a case where I had to present a prototype to clients without having a prototype because I expected that my colleague will make it, and and what I did is actually I just explained them the story so well that they were so focused on me that there wasn't any need for showing any more prototypes to them. I think that's the one story I remember from the bottom of my heart. But I did a lot of things
And
that
was that
are hard. Like it's hard when you do startups, for instance. It's hard, for instance, fundraising. Like I've been to the working with companies who raise money, like on the consulting side, right? When they have and also on the other side when I previous startups, for instance, also. But mm, there's always something new you learn along the way. How you pitch your present, how you pitch, how what investors to talk to, and there's always something new. And alongside, you realize that you did a lot of things because you just had good intuition to do them. Not exactly that you
Mhm.
know what to do, but you just had a good intuition to do it. And
Yeah,
yeah, yes, that answers your question.
I think it
It's a good
does. Yeah,
question. Yeah.
no, I think that's fair. David, we already answered a very similar question. It doesn't affect Relight Finance's ability to keep building or to run their platform, and ultimately that's a very hypothetical situation about the price of BNB dipping. Well, then it dips. All right, I'm going to go back to the spreadsheet here, and I think we've got time for a couple more questions. Um, you kind of alluded to this earlier, but maybe you can expand on it a little bit. Xperia 3 said DeFi is quite complicated for new users. I can attest to that, but many projects don't realize that. Do you aim to help new crypto users learn about DeFi? Are new users in your target audience? Um, and the follow up, I guess, to that is how important is UI and UX to you? I think you already mentioned the fact that UI and the UX user experience is very important to Relight Finance. That's something you're thinking about a lot. But going back to the other parts, is it Relight's goal or aim to help new crypto users learn about DeFi and get into Relight right away, or maybe are you going to target um, more experienced crypto aware people instead?
Good question. We definitely target the newbies because for us this is where people also need help and they also have general approach and interest to crypto, but they don't know how to start. So in terms of user base, of course, at the beginning, core user base will be people who know how to use crypto to somewhat and have ability to interact with MetaMask and this is how it works. But then in the same time, afterwards, we want to expand that to much more interesting new users who can who just go on Relight Finance and feel confident. The UX has to always bring the user there and guide him along the way and feel confident that the next click is okay to do. And also they will understand what risk is about, what fees are about, why they have to pay those fees. When then it's done, then we will be happy to really to accommodate the needs of those new users and people who have heard about DeFi but not yet entered. That's why we have great UX guys on top in our team who analyze, test, work with users. We reiterate prototypes all the time. We test it ourselves as well, and we've been also in that space as you mentioned. When was the where is the first click when you go to a landing page? What's MetaMask? So yeah.
Cool. I'm just looking over your question. Rohan just joined and wanted to ask a question about flash loans. Is this so I guess in the Relight finance roadmap, Johan says that there's something about flash loans coming up in Q1 2022. I guess they're a little worried about flash loan attacks happening now and then. What's your position on that? What's Relight? Maybe you could talk a little bit about what Relight intends to enable with flash loans and how that will work, and maybe put Johan's mind to rest about potential attacks there.
Sounds very important, but not a real priority at the moment for Relight in general. We consider it as a very interesting product because you can do so much more in one transaction. That's the beauty of flash loans. But we understand also the security risk in that regard. That's why we have now a new security advisor on board, and we will have also before that 2 major audits before we actually release anything regarding flash loans. So on that side of auditing the code, we guarantee that we will not do anything premature, especially in the flash loan cases. And I know that it's been one of the verticals actually that is being used a lot to make frauds. But yeah, not at the moment the real priority, but it's going to happen there. When it happens, then we'll be surely and auditing everything thoroughly to make it work.
Okay, fair enough. All right, terrific. I think that about covers it. I'm just kind of one more quick look here over here. Some of the questions are very basic. I don't think we need to spend any time on those.
Let me just check as well if there's something interesting.
Don't think there is an answer to that one yet. I guess, you know what? We'll take one more from Max_94. Again, Max, I'm going to reword it a little bit. What feature does Relight Finance have in the works that you think really makes it stand out from other borrowing and lending platforms?
The feature that really outstands from other platforms is the interoperability from day one. And really the connection between different assets and enabling pairs to lend and borrow. The other aspect that we are really focusing, as I said, is the UX, and that's very, very big one. And thirdly, the transparency of fees and collateral. So these 3 aspects, I think, are really, really differentiating us from many other competitors. Alongside, of course, the NFT collateral is something that we've been exploring as well. But yeah, these 3 things are really, because for us, still, people are so much into focus on when it comes to lending into the Ethereum ecospace, but I think the ecosystems have to connect, and that's why interoperability is the biggest thing that we want to achieve with Relight.
Yeah, I will say I'm I guess a reformed Ethereum maximalist. I was very Ethereum focused for a long time. And while it's still a terrific blockchain, and I'm looking forward to Ethereum 2.0 launching, you look elsewhere and you realize, oh, there's a really healthy ecosystem happening in a variety of places. Reef Chain is on, Reef Chain's mainnet is officially launched today, and there are dozens and dozens of partners who are just about ready to go. 200 plus smart contracts deployed on the testnet. So that gives you an idea of the amount of momentum there on Reef Chain. And of course, I've learned more about Avalanche and XDAI and a bunch of other layer ones and layer twos that in their own ways all contribute. And so I've actually become a multi-blockchain maximalist instead of an Ethereum maximalist.
Makes sense.
Maybe less than a year ago. My position has really evolved, and this is somebody who's been in it for almost 4 years now. So I think I agree. The interoperability. Sorry, my leg's itchy. um, Interoperability from day one is very important. And as somebody who often tries to teach others about how to use dApps, that user experience is really a big one. I think a lot of DeFi protocols and dApps really miss the mark by not having any sort of onboarding procedure, and assuming your degen is ready to ape in, and so many people aren't. So regardless of whether they found Relight Finance first in their journey, or an NFT platform, or a wallet app, and if they encounter Relight first, they should still feel like they can figure it out, right? And I think that's how you get them in the door. And so the fact that you guys are really focusing on, are happy to engage with fairly new crypto users, and make it easier for them to get onboarded, I think will make a really big difference. So good for you for doing that and considering that perspective. Okay, I think that does it. Thanks so much, George, again for your time. Being the leader of a company, I know is not easy, and carving out 45 minutes to an hour to do this sort of thing is not simple either. So
It's always good to connect with the community. We have a lot of questions as well that people ask, and in regards to the MVP and the launch, but everything will be okay soon. As Q4 is very exciting. This is when we're also going to launch the MVP, and then further on expanding with dot pools, Kusama, all those ecosystems in the dot system, mobile app, synthase, synthetics, all those kind of things are very, very exciting alongside the next year as well. So
nice.
keep us in the loop as well for Reef Finance as well. So how things are going here.
Be happy to share all the cool, fun things that people will be able to do on Relight's deployment on Reef Chain as it comes to bear.
Yeah.
So everybody, thank you so much for sending in your questions. Somebody will be responsible for distributing the rewards. That is not me, but somebody will do that. And we will see you on the next Reef AMA, and keep you everybody in the loop on what Relight Finance does next.
Thank you so much. Do follow us on Twitter, Telegram, Relite Finance. So PS and
Relight.finance, right? The website.
Yes, Relite.finance and Telegram Relite Finance Official. You can find us on Twitter too. But thank you again for hosting us, Derek, and looking forward for Reef to move on and make some great things together.
We're making waves.
Making waves.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Yes. Bye-bye. Ciao. Bye-bye.